What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Draft Targets for the Buffalo Bills. We've had guards, we've had targets. This is our third installment, and we're going to be talking about centers. Why did we start with the offensive line? Because that's who we all think on this channel the Bills need to focus on. So hopefully you're listening to our show, getting some ideas, talking to these guys at the combine, and getting ready to draft some of these folks. Got a good one tonight. You know the guys by now. I mean, we got Sean Kula from the Red, White, and Bills. We got Brett McDurphy from the Go Bills podcast. And then you got Jake and myself, Mike Thornton, from the Nickel City Mafia. So we're going to get right into it. I do want to start by asking Brett a question. So, Brett, we've been talking about offensive linemen, and we've been looking at it from our perspective like, man, this is a guy that would be great for the Bills. But Aaron Kromer has some type of guys that he likes to have on his team. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that? What type of offensive lineman is he looking for?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Mike. So he's looking for more of a guy that, for the left guard, he's looking for the left guard to be able to pull. If they're trying to run the ball to the right side, they like a pull guard that can go off of the right tackle and can cover the outside edge of the line of scrimmage. And they also like to take their tight end and motion him over as well. So that way they can contain the edge, and then you can have the running back bounce inside and then be able to go in between the tackle and the guard and then go up the field. So he's looking for more of a guy that's athletic. He's also looking for someone who can pancake block pretty much. And that's what I think that Aaron Kromer is going to look for in a guard as well as a center, because usually what he likes to do is pull the left guard and the center sometimes. And that's what back in the day when the first time that he was playing, or when he was coaching for the Buffalo Bills, he had Richie Incognito and he had Eric Wood. And both of them were excellent at pulling. And if you watch film, and I wish we could pull up some film, maybe we could do a little show on that. You can pull up the film. You'll see Richie Incognito. You'll see Eric Wood. One of the two of them is going to pull on almost every single play that's a run play to the outside. And back when Aaron Kromer first started off with Buffalo, we didn't have a very good right tackle. So being able to pull Richie Incognito, who was probably our best blocking guard at the time, he was able to set the outside edge and then allow guys like LaShawn McCoy and the other running backs to be able to bounce inside and take it to the house. So that's what he's looking for in a guy.
All right, good stuff, Brett. Good explanation. So keep that in mind when we're talking about these guys. Now, not all these guys probably meet that criteria, but still, they're studs. So let's get into it. Let's start with our first center draft target. Let me bring it up here. And Joe Tippmann, guys, the slide's a little different than I said the order was going to be, but I wanted to surprise you.
Yeah,
so
nice surprise.
That's going to throw Sean on the board first. Talk to us about Joe Tippmann.
Well, before we get into Big Joe, I just wanted to do a quick random thought. I was looking over at my flag here, and maybe within a year or two, everybody on that flag will be off the Buffalo Bills, and it's kind of sad. Huh. But anyway, just thought of it randomly.
Don't say that.
Oh, man, it's so sad. But Big Joe, I mean, look at that hair to start off. I mean, luscious and beautiful. Gotta love it. And when I look over at his weaknesses, basically every single one of those are fixable things. Like holding calls. You could gain a little weight. Footwork, all that stuff. That's all things you can work on. So those things, I mean, the height, obviously you can't. That's why I say basically. But that kind of thing doesn't worry me whatsoever, because it's all coachable. And, Wisconsin centers are usually top tier and very smart. And the center is the most, out of all the offensive line positions, they're the general of the offensive line. Obviously, they're not the general of the team. But even as a rookie, you have to be, if you're starting, you have to be leading the offensive line, even though you're not a veteran. And guys coming out of Wisconsin have proven to be very good at this. But you look over at the strengths, a lot of great things. Plays well in space, pull blocker, fits Aaron Kromer. He's athletic, strong and fast, big, powerful hands. And, of course, plays beyond the whistle. that's a huge thing because we've seen a lot of guys, especially Roger Saffold, just stand around, looking around, like looking at birds fly around when the play is going on. And I do see a little bit too tall for center, and that kind of fits my personal. I would like my interior offensive lineman to not be over 6'5", but at the same time, if he's a top tier talent and we have a chance to better the offensive line, I'm willing to, for my personal opinion, to draft a guy like that. And thankfully Josh is 6'5" himself, so it's a little bit better. But if you got a guy like Kyler Murray and you got 6'6" interior offensive lineman, then you're kind of screwing yourself. But I mean, I think 320 is perfect for a center, especially being athletic as he is. His run blocking grade and pass blocking grade in college are exceptional as last year. And, he ran a 4.9 40 time. And again, we always say don't put too much stock into 40 time, but it just shows his athleticism in one sprint. So you can assume he's an athletic person by his 40 time. But I mean, I'm really hoping we pick up at least within the first 3 rounds. I want 2 of those picks to be offensive line, and I think center would be a great choice. And I saw somebody post earlier. We were meeting with all these tight ends and safeties and wide receivers. I didn't see anybody post about offensive line. I know Brett says we met with Torrance, but it's not enough. You got to be meeting with every single one of these guys. I don't know what they're taking so long to do. I don't know if they're playing with us. They're trying to play all sneaky or not. But I mean, definitely got to bring Joe in for an interview, and definitely be looking at him in the 2nd and 3rd round.
Yeah, I love that, Sean. I love the speed. And you talk about the height, 6'6". I know they're saying that's a little too tall for a center, but guess what Mitch Morse is? Mitch Morse is over 6'5", 6'6", depending on where you look. And so I love it. Great pick. Let me throw it to you, Jake, for your thoughts on Mr. Joe Tippmann.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Mike. 6'6", everyone's saying that's too tall. Well, Mitch Morse is 6'6" himself. And this guy's also got 15 pounds on Mitch Morse, and he's quicker, faster, younger. This is a great replacement option for Mitch Morse down the line. He could even probably play a little bit of guard if he has to. But you look at this guy, he's a grade A mauler. He's got the best damn mullet in the entire draft class. And he's unbelievably athletic for his size. I think he is Travis Frederick 2.0, who also, by the way, went to Wisconsin. Not many highly touted Wisconsin offensive linemen that don't find success in the NFL. So I think he's going to be a shoe-in pick for any team that gets him. If he's sitting there in the 2nd round, he's absolutely worthy of a pick. I think it's great value. I think, honestly, people have him graded as a 2nd-round pick, but I think in a different year, he's probably going in the 1st round. So I think this kid is unreal. I think his draft stock is climbing. I don't put a lot of stock into the negatives. I think what Sean said really sums it up well. A lot of his negatives can be fixed, and I think he's going to do a really nice job at the 2nd level here. Especially in the NFL. So would be elated to get a young man of this stature.
Awesome. Your thoughts, Brett?
Brett, you're muted.
You're muted, sir.
My bad. Thank you. It told me on here. I actually had it tell me on the on here. It's telling me I'm muted. But yeah, I think you guys stole the words out of my mouth. And I mean, I think he's highly respected. He's someone who reminds me of the offensive side of J.J. Watt. And I think that he's going to come into the
Another
NFL.
Wisconsin guy, by the way.
Yeah, another Wisconsin guy. He's going to come in. He's going to be an incredible fit for wherever he goes. He's going to be highly respected. Probably is going to be, within a year or two, a leader on the team. So I think that he would bring some leadership to Buffalo in an offensive line room where there is some pieces in place. Like you have Deion Dawkins, who's been here for a long time. But you could bring in Joe Tippmann, and he can be the leader for the offensive line for years to come. So I really like the pick. I think that he would definitely fit. If it was a 2nd-round pick and he's available, I think you have to go with Tippmann.
I like it. I see some folks out in the channel. Nobody's speaking up yet, but please share your thoughts as we go through these prospects. Let us know if we're on target or off target, and if you have anyone else. And by the way, if you're new to our channels, Red, White, and Bills, Go Bills Podcast, Nickel City Mafia, give us a like, give us a sub, and leave some comments after the show if you're watching. If you're watching this after the live broadcast, we greatly appreciate it. So let's move on to the next guy here, which is Mr. Luke Whippler, which is Jake Podger's guy. So, Jake, talk to us about Luke.
Gosh, I could go on and on about this guy, but I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, Mike. I think with him, he is, one of the biggest critiques is his arms are a little short. That's the only negative I could find on this young man. First off, Big Ten lineman. He's your classic Big Ten lineman. He's 6'3", 300. Everyone's saying, maybe undersized, maybe his arm's a little short, but he makes up for it with his athleticism and his overall grit. He's got a mean streak in him. He does a hell of a job of getting to the second level, and he attacks. His instincts are tremendous. I think he would be an awesome pick as well for the Bills. A little bit shorter than Joe Tippmann, which we just talked about, but I think he is actually even more athletic than what Joe Tippmann gives you. I think he is just a guy that's going to fit Aaron Cromer's persona. He is a bully. He is like Richie Incognito in ways out there on the field. I think we've been missing that for years. So would love a chance. I mean, look at the roster pick. He looks dead serious in that pick. That's how he is on the field, boys. So, man, I'll tell you this. He is as good as it gets. In my opinion, he's the best center in the class, outside of maybe John Michael Schmitz, but he is that guy, man. I would love to get him. I think he's awesome. Again, he plays bully ball out there, and his instincts are really what separate him from the rest of the pack.
My only problem with him is he needs to grow a beard or something. He looks like he's 16 years old.
He does. He's got that baby face
he's
going.
He's not going to intimidate anyone.
Reminds me of Garrett Bradbury a little bit. Garrett Bradbury Jr. So if you like the NFL comparisons, I said Joe Tippmann to Travis Frederick, Garrett Bradbury, Luke Whippler. So there you go.
Brett, you have any thoughts on Luke?
Yeah, he came into this year really undersized, and that's one of the things that concerned me. I love him for his size at 6'3". I think that's a good size, but just needs to put on a few pounds. I think he needs to get up to about 315. That's the one thing that's concerning. But overall, really like the idea of getting him hopefully in the second or third round. He could potentially drop a little bit just based off of the size and especially the wingspan that he has. Could be a couple of guys to go ahead of him, but I think that he fits exactly what Buffalo is looking for, like Jake said, in a guy that can go out and be athletic and be a pull center as well, because sometimes in the run game we have to pull our center. So I think he would fit exactly what Buffalo needs, and I think he would be a better replacement for Mitch Morse.
Nice. Sean, he meets your criteria. Ohio State. What's your thoughts on Mr. Whippler?
Well, I mean, you say he looks like a 16-year-old. I think he looks like a serial killer. So, I mean,
nice combination there.
Not that that's a good thing, but on the football field, I mean, you got to be a little bit of a maniac. So,
you do
get that to him. But I mean, again, the quickness and athleticism and, just overall talent. I mean, look at the 90, 91, 92 grades. Like that's it's college, but that's excellent. You got to be, even though, like I said, even though it's college and NFL is different, that's basically saying that you're almost essentially perfect. Obviously it's different, but if you're looking at a percentage, 9 out of 10, basically 9 out of 10 times you're doing great. So I know it's a little bit of a different analogy, but just being in the 90s is extremely outstanding. And, like you guys said, we like to pull our centers a lot. We see Mitch Morse do it, except these guys are more athletic and quicker. And again, he may be undersized now, 300, that's still a mammoth of a person, but I mean, you're going to be going against guys like Chris Jones and, Aaron Donald, people that are just absolutely massive. So it'd be nice to put on a little bit of muscle in the off season. And again, I mean, these guys are 21 years old, so they're not even like their peak of building strength and size. So that's another good thing that we can look at is like, they got their potential of growth and strength is still growing. I mean, you look at ourselves, like when you're 21, it's like you felt like you were just getting started in the weights and, like, oh, I just hit this weight and now I'm hitting this weight, and like you just continuously grow. So, I'm excited for that. And I think, so far we got two great talents projected in the second round. If, again, hopefully Buffalo sees the glaring issues and they try to hit at least one of these interior offensive line positions. And, we got two pretty good options, and I'm sure we're going to have a third and a fourth.
Yeah, just to let folks know, I mean, why center is so important this year is that Mitch Morse, we don't know yet. We don't know if Mitch is going to retire. I mean, he's had 6 concussions already. He could come into camp and say, no, I'm done, guys. He also is up for a cut possibility, right? If we cut him, we save $6 million in the salary cap. So that's an option as well. And if he was to leave, we got Ryan Bates who can slide over to center. We probably will re-sign. I think we're going to re-sign Van Roten, who played a little center, which was rough. I mean, him and Josh, I don't know what the problem was there. But that's why, it is so important. And Jake, I just got to ask you, are you willing to take a center at number 2? And does it really, and does that change if you hear that Mitch Morse is coming back?
I think it changes the, I do think it changes the evaluation a little bit, because you can maybe, I guess it really depends on who you take in the first round. I think all of us are really high on taking Osiris Torrance in the first round. So, basically saying that we take him and then saying Mitch Morse comes back, I think then, it sort of, I guess, allows you to take either a skill position guy or potentially a right tackle, especially with the fact that we didn't even talk about this guy's Ike Butker going to be returning to the Bills, it looks like. So I think, you factor a couple of those things in as well. Mitch Morse returning, I think there is something to still be said about taking the best player available, especially on the offensive line, because your offensive line, if you have a really athletic young kid like this, there is a chance where he can play multiple positions or he can play in heavy packages. And I think that is something that sometimes gets overlooked, but it is very, it's extremely valuable. So I think, Mitch Morse coming back certainly changes your outlook a little bit, but these are guys that I don't think you sleep on regardless.
Sean, real quick.
Guys, I wanted to say before we go on to the next prospect that we're going to look at, one thing I look back on throughout the whole entire season is that we struggled, especially in the middle of the offensive line. And if you looked at Mitch Morse, I don't think he had the best overall year last year. And it seemed like at times when he went up against Chris Jones and Quinnen Williams and guys of that nature, even Aaron Donald, he was beaten pretty much like a drum. And it just seemed like against the speed rushers, he wasn't nearly as good. And that's when the defensive linemen were able to get into the backfield. And you have to remember in the AFC East, we got guys that are going to be as good, if not better, than Quinnen Williams coming in. And the Miami Dolphins have an excellent defensive line. The Patriots have a great defensive line, and the Jets have an excellent defensive line. So going up against them 6 times a year, it makes me worry about Josh Allen, and it makes me worry about if he's going to get hurt. So you got to put all your aspects into making sure that you're protecting your asset quarterback too.
Well, it was the Jets, too, that he got hurt against. So that's a great point, Brett. I don't think those defensive lines are getting any worse either. I mean, they're only going to build on those. So very good point there.
Sean, do you agree with what Brett's saying about Mitch? And do you want Mitch back?
I would definitely take him back. I mean, he was when you watch him, when you look at his grades, he was average. I mean, but he's also getting up there in age, so there's nothing wrong with going younger. And to answer your question about like, even if Mitch comes back, do you go center? I think you still do, because like so far with Luke and Tittman, they both have guard potential. Maybe more so Tittman, because Weipler's he's a little bit on the smaller side for guard. But you can mold them behind Mitch Morse, but then still get game reps. And then if Mitch Morse doesn't play next year, or he's not on the team, then you solidified center, and they have a year under their belt. And then, again, not everybody can play guard and center or tackle, so you got to see, which one would be better off. But Mitch was average, but I mean, it's hard to, even if you're a great center, it's hard to stop Quinnen Williams. And I mean, that dude's like 340, solid muscle, and he's fast. So it's like, you're going to get thrown around, and it, sometimes Mitch's age shows a little bit. And I say age as in football age, offensive lineman. You just saw, Austin Blythe retire after 7 years. I mean, you get beat up a lot, and, it's just you wear down quicker than like a quarterback or a wide receiver. So, I mean, I would definitely take center, and I do think Brett's pretty much right with, he was average, but I don't think he definitely was our second best lineman for sure.
Oh, yeah, and he had to make up for, a lack of play out of the guards next to him as well. Right. So you got to think about that too.
That's the other thing. It's a little bit and it's hard to evaluate, because, I mean, Bates is average at best, and Saffold was way below average this year, especially for his his career. And then the guard, the right, and Bates is playing next to Spencer Brown, so it's just
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have to agree. He's definitely average, but wasn't the worst part.
Yeah, good point.
Would you say that with the amount of money that the Bills have on the table this year with Mitch Morse, you still want him back, even if it meant saving $6 million?
It depends, because you could save money elsewhere too. Like I said, if you let Edmonds and Poyer go, that's already like over $20 million you're going to save more than likely. And then there's other people too, but I mean, we just talked about it off air. Cutting OJ Howard kind of screwed us this year, screwed us as well, because that was like a $6 or $7 million cap hit because we signed him and then cut him, and after we gave him a deal, which was really stupid. And again, we didn't really use Quentin Morris too much, and definitely didn't use Tommy Sweeney. So I mean, we got to make up money somewhere. And I do want to say, while we're talking about draft, we've seen how much offensive linemen have been costing. You definitely have to build, unless we can save money somewhere, you definitely got to build the offensive line through the draft, because to find a good quality is going to take a lot of money. And, we haven't seen us actually, besides the Von Miller thing and the Stephon Diggs trade, them actually make a big splash play for offense, especially offensive line. And I definitely think you should build through the draft, because they're on rookie deals, and it's cheap.
Yep, I agree. For me, I mean, I think we got to go center, right? We got to find that long-term replacement. But it will change. To me, it'll change what round we take a center in if Mitch decides to come back. So, good conversation. Interesting topic. It's going to be. Well, we should find out. I would imagine you'd think in free agent. When do you think that he's going to come to the Buffalo Bills and tell them what his plans are? If we haven't heard something by now, do you think he plans on staying, or where do you think that cutoff is?
Typically, you'd hear within the first month or so after the season. And, I mean, we're really closing in on that gap here. And free agency starts in 10 days now, guys. So I'm more on the side of thinking that he's coming back. Unless it's a late cut for us or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're already starting to – there's been a couple big names that have been cut already. So I just feel like he's probably going to be here.
All right. Let's move on to, again – Brett staying true to himself. I mean, it's not the slides weren't in the order, but John Michael Jingleheimer Schmidt. Whenever I see a name like this, I gotta throw in the Jingleheimer Schmidt. His name is my name too. I mean, he's the top guy at the position that everyone's talking about. So, Brett, go ahead, tell us about Mr. John Michael Schmidt. It's very fancy.
Well, I grabbed the oldest guy because I'm the youngest guy on the channel. So I figured that I have to grab the oldest guy, but I grabbed the number one prospect, and I let you guys pick first. I gave you guys until yesterday to make your picks. So I chose John Michael. Could have went other ways, but I felt like this is the best prospect out there. And I felt like it's someone that we have to talk about. He's a little bit undersized. It says on here 306 pounds, but it's being reported that he has gained a little weight after coming out of Minnesota. He's up to about 320 pounds. So that actually helps him a little bit. And he has elite level run blocking, but he's not a very good pass blocker. That's the one thing that has been reported about him, is he's not a good pass blocker, a little too heavy on his feet at times. And that's something that causes a little bit of concern. And in the pass blocking, he tends to get a little bit too high. So that's one of the things that can be fixed on him. And I think that's something that Aaron Cromer could easily fix about him. He's a prospect that I think will definitely go in the first round, honestly. He reminds me a lot of Billy Price when he came out. He's someone who there's teams that need centers, and I think that potentially he could go late first round, if not early second round. But he's an excellent prospect, top of the line, and his technique as well as his run blocking is what's going to get him. And I think that if he goes to a team like Buffalo, who needs to develop their pass blocking, he's going to make the team so much better. So The 5.240 is the only thing that really concerns me because he's a little bit slower, and I want a guy that runs a sub 5.40. So I'm hoping that we can find someone that's a little bit faster, but I think that he fits exactly what Buffalo needs, and he has a high football IQ, which is something that I love, and I know that Buffalo, we are all very smart and intelligent football fans, and bringing in some high football IQ, you can never go wrong. So I think he would be an excellent fit for the Bills.
Did you happen to see? I know he was invited to the Senior Bowl, and I've got a lot of info on the Senior Bowl, but he's one I wasn't able to catch anything on. Does any one of you guys have any info how he showed up at the Senior Bowl?
He did an excellent job at the Senior Bowl. The one thing that he does struggle with is going up against speed rushers, but he held his own at the Senior Bowl, and I think his stock is rising. I know for a fact he met with Buffalo, though, Sean, so I know you're worried about that. He did meet with Buffalo at the Senior Bowl. He talked to a few scouts from the Bills. I don't know if it was a formal interview because it hasn't been reported as an interview, but he did talk to the Bills on the sidelines. I know that. And I believe Aaron Cromer was there. So I saw that. So I think he would definitely be somebody that the Bills are going to bring in for a visit. I think we only have 30 guys that we can bring in, but I know he's going to be one of the guys that we're going to bring in for sure.
I love it. I love that a lot of, even when we talk guards, when we talk tackles, a lot of these guys are seniors and they are invited to the Senior Bowl, and almost all of them have done extremely well. So real quick, Jake, your thoughts on Mr. John Michael Schmitz?
Yeah. I think my favorite comparison I've seen, I know you said Billy Price, Brett, but I love the other comparison that he's been given is Ben Jones. And that is a guy that I always wanted the Bills to take a chance on and somehow get. But unfortunately, haven't really been able to do that. So you look at John Michael Schmitz, he's incredible as a zone, in a zone blocking scheme. He's so good with his reach blocks, as you mentioned. Super high football IQ, is able to make all the calls at the line of scrimmage. I think he's extremely patient as well in the run game, kind of waits for things to develop, has extremely good instincts. He does attack when he needs to, does a really, really good job in the run game. I think you look at some of the negatives, like you said, he's a little heavier footed, struggles a bit against the speed rushers. And I think that's all stuff that he's going to get better with over time here. But just looking at his age, his maturity, and how well he did at Minnesota, still playing at a high level in the Big Ten, I think it's absolutely the pros totally outweigh the cons. So probably, as you mentioned, the top prospect for centers this year.
Nice. Sean, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about replacing Mitch Morse, football IQ is probably one of the first things we should think of, because that's where Mitch Morse is severely underrated and undervalued by most of the people in the NFL that talk about, offensive line. He's always looked at lower than he should be. But Mitch Morse is extremely smart and very good at catching blitzes and adjusting. So when I'm thinking of replacing him, this is the kind of guy that you would want to bring in, someone who you won't skip a beat with. And again, like you guys mentioned, his weaknesses are all things that will change in the NFL if they have a great work ethic, and I'm sure that they all do. But sometimes you have the ones where it just don't work out. But I think we all picked a lot of quality guys that have proven they can work hard and that they want to be great. And this is a guy with a lot of upside. And again, 3 for 3. And I know Mike's going to come through with another great one of guys that, all project a second rounder. So we don't have much of an excuse of why we can't at least attempt.
There's got to be one.
Guys.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I mean, just talking about this makes me excited. There's a lot of great things for all the guys that we're going to be talking about. And, like Jake said, all the pros outweigh the cons for most of them. So definitely excited for the possibility of drafting this guy. I'm going to keep saying possibility because I still can't trust Bean and McDermott to address pain points of our team and, really, really focus on it.
Yeah, I did want to mention, I put his little comment up there, but Banana, thanks for joining us on the show. And he said, stealing insider info from you guys since we can't draft linemen. He's a Finns fan, right?
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to block that D line of yours, Banana.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Who else is out there? We got the folks out there being a little quiet. Don't be shy with us, and let us know what your thoughts are. We love it. Love the internet.
One thing I also wanted to mention, Mike, is that the biggest thing that I'm looking for in a center this year is that somebody that can come in and the chemistry between the center and Josh Allen is going to be pretty much similar to what he has with Mitch Morse. So I'm looking for somebody that can come in, has the leadership skills, and can command the huddle pretty much and tell the other offensive linemen the blocking protection. That's something that Mitch Morse does an excellent job of. And if he is released and we do move on from him, the next guy has to be able to tell the rest of the offensive linemen what the scheme is going to be in the blocking scheme, and he has to execute it. So it's going to be a tough ask for a rookie to come in and handle that job. But the last rookie that came in for Buffalo that did it, Eric Wood, did an excellent job, and he pretty much held it to his own until he retired. So I'm looking for the next guy that can do that for another, hopefully 15 years and can hold down the fort for Buffalo. But overall, we've had some pretty damn good centers that have been with Buffalo in the past 20 years. So I'm looking forward to, if it's going to be a new person that comes in, I'm looking forward to the next person that comes in.
Awesome. I love it. Well, that's a good segue into your next Buffalo Bill. Welcome to the Bills, Olusegun Oluwatimi. I think I got that right.
Nice
I've
job,
been
Mike.
practicing that, and it's still very difficult. This will be your next Buffalo Bill. He's projected to be a round 4. He was at the Senior Bowl, killed it at the Senior Bowl. I think the offensive linemen at the Combine, I think they go out, is it tomorrow or Sunday? Because it was all about defense these last 2 days. So I think the interior linemen go out tomorrow. So I think you're going to see this guy destroy it, move up the boards even more. If he's a 4th rounder, look, I don't think the Bills are going to take a center early. I just don't know why. I mean, we want them to. I want them to. I don't think they will. But they can catch this gem in the 3rd or 4th round. I think he will move up to the 3rd, but if he's there in the 4th, and you know how the Bills love their late picks, this is a guy they'll be looking at. He played 3 years, started 3 years. Actually, was he? Yeah, even in his freshman year, started 3 years for the Virginia Cavaliers. He got a little bored with that and says, "You know what? I need to live up to Sean's
Get out of the ACC.
expectations."
We did talk a few times. So.
And then he moved over to Michigan. And in his final year, he played 13 games, 834 snaps, no sacks given up at Michigan. Now, he's played center his whole career, so you do like to see a guy potentially that's a little versatile, that can move the guard. But I'm sure a guy like this, he's got the perfect size. Maybe he needs a little bit more weight to move the guard if they wanted to, have him. If he had to come in at crunch time, somebody was injured, I'm sure they can work with him to maybe have him slide over for guard. But this is a guy I could see being a long-time center for us, backing up Mitch this year and then taking over for Mitch long-term. Anyhow, I love this prospect. Like I said, killer reports at the Senior. He's been just doing a fantastic job, and let's see what he does in the Combine. I'm going to be watching all 4 of these centers closely in the Combine and seeing what comes out of that. But I expect all of these guys to be, well, your guys are already at number 2. All of them. They can't be moving up the board too much, but this guy should be able to move up a little bit. And if he's not, he's a steal in round 4. Anyhow, that's my take. Let me throw it to you, Jake, for Olusegun.
Yeah, well, first off, something you didn't mention, Mike, is that he's a 2-trophy winner this year. He won 2 huge trophies. He won the Outland Trophy and the Remington Trophy. That's for the best interior O-lineman and the best center in the nation. So that right there should stand alone as, basically solidifying how legitimate this young man is. I think people have a lower grade on him than what he's going to produce in the NFL, if that makes sense. I think he is, probably worthy of a 3rd to 4th rounder. I think people just look at what his development has been over the years. But you look at what he did this past year and didn't allow a single sack. I think you look at some of the negatives that he had in the past. I really want to, turn on the tape. I haven't watched a ton of tape on him, but from what I understand is that the improvement he showed, especially playing in the Big Ten, was absolutely incredible. And he basically went from a day 3 pick to a potential day 2 pick, maybe late day 2 pick. But I love the upside of him. I think he's absolutely going to be a gem in that 3rd or 4th round. And, you look at what he did as a run blocker. I think that's where he showed the most improvement. You look at pass blocking, that's an area where he can improve a touch. But like I said, didn't allow a single sack this year and played at a high level playing at Michigan. There's something to be said about all 4 of these centers that we picked, guys. They all play in the Big Ten. Big Ten linemen know how to get it done. They're always successful in the NFL.
Sean, what do you think about your next Buffalo Bill, Alusagun?
Oh, I would absolutely love Big O. I'm already going to coin the nickname. There
we go.
That's already his
Big O.
nickname. Big O. What I mean, I'm going to start with the weaknesses first. When you look over at the footwork and inconsistent with reach blocks, I mean, again, if this is the worst that you get, I'm very happy with that because that's all things that can be easily fixed. And, a preseason of footwork and all the drills, and that could easily change. So, again, not worried about it. This guy's extremely talented, great technique, great hands, strong, quick, great lateral movement. And, again, like I said, best center in the nation. I mean, you can't argue that, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what you go through at that point. You earn that, and it's definitely not given. And one thing I people might not think about when you change schools, you're really banking on yourself. So he made that choice because he's like, well, I want to go to a bigger, better school. This can make or break me, and then he turned out to be the best center in the nation. So he shows grit and internal fortitude and great mental toughness. So again, that's another great thing to see in offensive lineman. And the next Buffalo Bill, Big O. I mean, I'd be to the moon, but just gotta hope that the Buffalo Bills do it. They got, like I said, the front office. This is the last year for me. If they don't at least draft right, or the potential to draft right, and it doesn't work out this year, I think they all got to go. And like I said, it starts with the draft. Draft these nice, big, strong, talented offensive linemen to protect your biggest asset, who's worth $258 million. And you want to win a Super Bowl, you got to keep them upright. When we don't have receivers that can separate and win a one-on-one besides Diggs, you got to give Josh time because you got to get the receivers time. It's not just about Josh. So, definitely got to build offensive line. I'd be ecstatic if we got him.
Yeah.
Love it. Brett, let me give you an opportunity to talk about the next Buffalo Bill, Big O, as Sean has coined.
I wasn't sure if Jake had something to say. I was going to let him talk first.
I was just going to say this is such a Bills pick because anyone that doesn't really know a ton about this young man, we're going to end up taking him in the 3rd or 4th round, and people are going to be like, what the hell is this? Why are we taking the center this late? But people don't understand the upside that he serves. And I think the Bills are huge on that, taking a guy, finding these gems, quote unquote. But I really do think he is a gem. So, Brett, go ahead, man.
Well, since Sean gave him the phrase Big O, I'm going to actually steal a phrase that you can think of for him, because I know in Buffalo, when in the wintertime, you guys go inside, you guys hibernate pretty much throughout the whole offseason, and it's never a bad time to have Oreos. So I'm going to call him Oreo because double O's, that's how he's going to be Mr. Oreo to me. But I've watched this kid a little bit coming out of Michigan. I watched a few games that he played in. Biggest thing that impressed me about him is his hand placement and his overall coordination. And I think he's going to move up the boards quite a bit. I think he's going to be a day 2 pick, and he's going to be looked at a lot higher than what the experts right now are saying. I think he's going to go into the combine. He's going to put up some big numbers, and you're going to see him move up the boards quite a bit. Could potentially go in the 2nd round or even the early 3rd round. So I think he's going to be somebody that fits the Buffalo Bills too. And he's going to be, mark my words, the only center to win the Super Bowl next year.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to steal a Kyle Brandt move.
I love it. I love it. That's what I was going for as well. So first bold prediction out of all these guys that we've talked about so far. And Big Al, always appreciate you. Glad to see you out there. I'm surprised you're being a little quiet, Big Al. I know you have your favorite guys that you like to draft, and maybe we're just nailing it. Maybe we're nailing it. You're happy with what we're saying, and you're agreeing. But usually you have a guy or two that you want us to.
He's got his hands full. We just dropped off the baby over there, Mike. So they were playing with her. She's probably not going to sleep for him. So he's probably playing with her right now, and having fun.
Well, listen, that concludes. I mean, if you bet the over on the 45 minutes, you're going to lose some money. It's the first time ever you lost some money. We're going to go live in a few minutes, and we're going to do 3 mock drafts, 3 quick mock drafts. We got some guys under the gun for time tonight, so those mock drafts are fun. We're going to do 3 4-rounders, and should be a lot of fun. So stick around a few minutes. We'll go live again, and see you then, everyone. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.